So the Forest Quartet came out in December of last year. Bit of a dark month in terms of noticing all the releases that come out. Christmas is in full swing, everyone's making go-to lists, so December's a hard time to come out, but I'm glad that I heard about it. I heard about it in The Guardian's Pushing Buttons weekly newsletter that I always scan, so thanks to Kayser MacDonald at The Guardian for putting this on my radar. It was developed by Mads and Friends. It's a solo developer, Mads Vadsholt, and he worked with his father, who is a jazz composer, Casper Vadsholt, and his sister Nina, who goes by NV4, was the singer on the game as well. So it's very much a family production. And it sounds like Mads worked with people that he knew largely where possible to get this game made. It was published by Bedtime Digital. It's out on PS4, PS5 and PC. I was sent a code for it, so thank you to Mads for sending the code. I played it on PlayStation 5, where it ran flawlessly. On Metacritic, it has 71%, which seems a little ungenerous to me. How Long to Beat has it at 2 hours, and it took me, I think, less than that to complete, actually. And the developer describes it as a 3D narrative puzzler about a gone but not forgotten lead singer. Play her spirit and travel through 3 acts unique to the members of her band for a final farewell concert. Face their emotions, solve puzzles, and fight the corruption plaguing their souls. And I say that it's a short lyrical puzzle game about the death of a young singer and the effect it has on her bandmates. It does a lot with a little, offering glimpses into the lives and the minds of each member of the Forest Quartet. An emotional story that rings true. And in this game, you play as the ghost of Nina. She is a singer who has passed away. It's presented on the screen in a top-down view of a dark forest. Nina is floating on the ground and glowing in white, wearing a dress. Kind of cute for an apparition, I guess, but like a lifelike human form, but glowing with white light in the dark forest. And as you walk between the trees of this dark forest, you will come across lampposts that you can light with the click of your fingers, and you arrive at a place in the forest where there is a stage, a very beautiful looking stage with an elevated wooden platform for the piano. There is no one at the piano, it is sitting silent. Another set of steps leads up to an elevated wooden platform where there is a double bass, and a third leads up to an area where there are drums. In the centre, there is the area where Nina would have stood and sang as the singer of the band. But no one is there to be seen, and it becomes apparent that in this game it's divided into 3 sections, and the musicians of the Forest Quartet are grieving. They live in 3 different houses out in the woods all by themselves, and they are all housebound right now, going through all kinds of different things. And what we will do in this game is move through each of these 3 areas, find the houses of the members of the Forest Quartet, and help with some of the problems that they are going through by solving environmental puzzles with visualizations of the turmoil that they are feeling. We meet them one by one. Each one is coping, or rather not really coping with their grief, and they're all doing it in different ways. We will meet Kirk, a pianist who is suffering from depression, which is visualized as a kind of a black mold draped over his house, blocking the doors and windows. You get a little cutscene of Kirk talking on the phone, saying why he can't come to band practice. Next we'll meet JB, a double bass player who is suffering from anxiety, which is shown as darkness, fixed by doing puzzles that will result in bulbs lighting up around the forest, light puzzles. And finally Sebastian, the drummer, who is suffering from anger, shown as forest fires. And we will do environmental puzzles that will help to clear away whatever is ailing them. So in Kirk's case, you will solve puzzles that will strip that mold away from the house. In JB's case, the anxiety can be brought to light by lighting these giant bulbs. In Sebastian's case, you need to douse the flames. So the majority of what you are doing in this game is working through this melancholy scenario and doing object puzzles. Sometimes it will be a machine. You have to find a cog and put it into the machine. You have to find another cog and put it in the machine. Then use your kind of spirit power to sing and bring the machine to life, and it will start to splutter and grind away, and things will start to move again. Sometimes there are poles, and you have to grab light from the first pole and then thread it across all of the others in certain sequences to draw shapes, for example. that are shown on the trees and the cliffs as flickering projections. So it has like an art installation feel to it. Like all of the puzzles look like if they were in real life, they could exist as art installations out in the forest. And that's kind of the feeling that I got from this game, was that out in the forest there is these strange jazz musicians who have withdrawn away from city life to make something new for themselves. And they are up to all kinds of crazy things out there. And the way that I started to really feel that, for a game that has such a short runtime, it certainly made me feel quite a lot. Because as you are moving through the forest and you're meeting Kirk and JB and Sebastian, you will hear these crackling radio shows that appear just briefly, sometimes for just a few lines of dialogue, sometimes for 20-30 seconds, sometimes for a minute. And they are excerpts from an old radio interview with the Forest Quartet, in which a host asks them questions about why they moved out to the forest, what they hope to find there, and you will hear the lovely, soft, amiable voices of the Forest Quartet. Like Kirk might say it was all about Nina, really. She dragged us out here. And then JB will laugh and say, well, I didn't need to be dragged. And Sebastian will say, I ran screaming into the woods myself. I wanted to go. And then Nina will laugh. And you get this feeling of like this easygoing energy between the four of them. They're so close. And you really feel that connection through these lovely little interviews. And they're also quite funny, and they're quite sparky and bright. Like the dialogue they sound like jazz musicians, they talk like jazz musicians. They use lots of poetic turns of phrase, sometimes self-effacing, and just with a really nice dynamic between all of them. And these little interludes, like for such a simple game, I think that these little interludes really made it spring to life for me. I felt that I knew these people. I felt that I've met these people. And I really looked forward to every little delightful radio excerpt that would come along. And the puzzles that you do whilst you're moving around the forest, they are simple, but at the time that I played this game on a Sunday afternoon. I felt like playing something short. I felt like playing something that I could address that wasn't going to demand a lot from me. And this game didn't. Like, the puzzles are largely pretty simple, but it looks nice, it sounds nice, the soundscape is nice, and it has a nice texture to the whole game. And I think that despite the relatively simple gameplay and the short running length, this is a game that I was really happy that I played. It was a short vision, it was someone's vision for this game, and it does have these topics of grief and melancholy and anxiety, and you do see visualizations of that, and it has this sense of loss. You can feel the missing part of the quartet that is you as the spirit playing in the game. You can feel the shape of their absence and the lives of the people around them in a way that felt quite real to me. And maybe this is me just projecting a little into the game, but for me it really did ring true. There's something to it. I think that the way that all of these elements have been put together, the characters, the radio show especially, the style of music, and the simple style of visuals, the simple but engaging gameplay and puzzles where you are moving through art installation-like environments, threading light together to make a giant bulb light up, or to make a machine work, or to carry a strange, mysterious shape through the dark trunks of the forest and plant it into a mysterious place where something will happen if you sing. There was something very satisfying about the whole thing. It was like just a really relaxed and lovely video game experience that I really enjoyed. The game is dedicated at the end to Emma Neenal. I believe that, well, according to this quote that I found from an interview with the developer, he says, "I grew up in a family of musicians, and my mother, who is a singer, died from cancer in 2013. Initially, I wasn't planning on making a game about my grief at all. I was simply trying to make something cool. But after years of shaping the diamond, I realized the game was very much about my own grief and the life of my family. My subconscious had been playing tricks on me." So there we go. It's a game that feels like a memorial, and although it wasn't intended as one originally, and Nina, the singer in the Forest Quartet, isn't a real character, even though Mads' sister is called Nina. So the game is dedicated to his mother and is perhaps a little about his mother in ways that he didn't even know as he was making the game. So as far as I was concerned, the good parts included the audio. I loved the music, it's lovely, the compositions are great, the recordings are wonderful. The radio show was maybe my favourite thing about the game. It was just this, like a radio signal crackling out of the past. You could hear these lovely people in happier times, and it cast the reality of the moment that you were in just a different light. It really worked for me. I liked the simple logical puzzles, and I thought the emotional payoff of the concert, it brought tears to my eyes. It really did. Something about this game, even in that short runtime, it managed to get tears out of me, which isn't something that happens an awful lot while playing games. As far as the bad things, I would say, as with all puzzle games, sometimes you end up a little stuck and frustrated, but not that often in this game. I did find myself going in circles once or twice looking for something that had been under my nose, so I did get frustrated, but I think that is all puzzle games, not just this one. And it's very simple, in some ways quite rudimentary in terms of gameplay, but I don't really think of that as a flaw so much as a feature of this game. So it's a recommend from me, but in the show's Discord, we actually have a new channel called The Single Sitting Social. This was an idea from Soccer, a very active member of the Gaming in the Wild Discord community, who suggested putting together a list of games that can be finished in a single sitting that we can play together and talk about in this channel, and we'll do one a month. And so the Forest Quartet was the first one. And so people played it, and we all had our thoughts about it. You've just heard mine, but I thought I would finish this review by reading out a few of the quotes that people gave. So B Sushi, also known as Brian, one of the hosts of the Pixelated Playgrounds podcast, which I heartily recommend, said, "This was a beautiful little experience. It's a game as a eulogy, and I can't remember it being done better. That being said, fiddly controls were a bit much at times. I liked the symbolism of the forest and the butterflies. I'm sure there are many ways to interpret it, but it really added to the story." Dovetail True said, "The sound design and the environmental storytelling did a great job of conveying the mood of each band member. Each puzzle had thematic ties to those emotional states in interesting ways. The music was also weaved into the gameplay in masterful ways. The angry banging of drums and the lonely piano tune stood out as antithetical sounds to a quartet in need of orchestration." Dovetail also found that the gameplay dragged a little and was a little finicky in some areas, and said that in the end, this was a concise, interesting experience that I am glad to have enjoyed, even if I didn't give it a standing ovation. And finally from Soccer, they said, "That was beautiful. I really liked the visual representations of the instruments, like a Peter and the Wolf style story. The dialogue was very believable to me. With the jazz, it sounded like an interview I would hear on NPR. I could tell it was a tribute to someone while I was playing. It was heartfelt. The whole idea of imagining this person who is gone still being there for you and helping you from beyond the veil. I think it did what it set out to do." I agree with all of that. I think it is true that the gameplay does drag just a little, but in a 2-hour runtime, honestly, it's only moments of being stuck, and it is really worth it. There's a lovely finale to the game. I guess I've been skirting around it a little bit as a spoiler, but it did say in the developer's own description that you're trying to get these musicians back together for a concert. So I will leave it to your imagination, but I will say that the culmination of your efforts in solving these puzzles, meeting these people, bringing Kirk, JB and Sebastian back together is really, really worth the time. So if you're after a unique indie game experience that you can finish in a single afternoon, made by a solo developer with help from their friends and family, this could be one to try. It doesn't cost much money. It's on Steam, it's on PlayStation. A lovely little game. That's The Forest Quartet. So I hope you enjoyed that review of The Forest Quartet. That was a lovely little game. I'm really glad that I played it. Thanks again to Keza MacDonald of The Guardian for recommending that. You can sign up for that email actually, if you would like a weekly email from The Guardian. It has a think piece in it, and those are just okay, but it also has in it like a now playing and put this on your radar kind of segment. So I found that, this game rather, through that newsletter. So if you Google Pushing Buttons Guardian, you will find it and you'll get some weekly goodness in your inbox from them. I would also like to say thank you to Soccer for organising that single-sitting social channel. It's really fun. We just had a little vote between 4 different short games, and the next game that we have picked is Adios, from one of the developers of Paratopic, the very short, retro PlayStation horror, grainy, grisly horror game that I reviewed some time ago. I've been really wanting to play Adios, so it's really fun to have that on the slate. So thanks very much to Soccer for organising that channel, and you will be hearing me talk about Adios in the future. But for the time being, I'm very excited to play more of Wild Hearts. Honestly, it's one of those games that has just completely absorbed all of my attention in the best way. There's nothing better than when you are in the throes of being addicted to a game that you really like and just really excited to play it all the time. Haven't felt that for a while. So I'm really happy to be unexpectedly swept up in this off-brand Monster Hunter game that I'm just having the best time with. But I am also excited to play Dredge. I've been waiting for that one for a while, and I have that code to lock into my PS5. I'll be playing a little bit of Pronti on the Switch. I plan to keep playing A Space for the Unbound, also on my Switch. And we have all of those games that I talked about that are coming out this month. It's a very, very good month for indie games. I'd like to hear from you. Tell me what you're playing. You can find me on Twitter at Gaming in the Wild, or Instagram, or YouTube. I do put these episodes up on YouTube in a video format a lot of the time as well, when I have time to chop together a video. So please do come over and follow me on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up on a video if you like the podcast. If you're on Spotify, please drop a star rating on the show. If you're on iTunes, a really good review and a 5-star rating, or however many stars you think the show deserves. All of those reviews help people find the podcast, and I appreciate them all. Finally, you're welcome to come and join us on Patreon, join in the Discord, join in the Single Sitting Social, and talk to us every day about what you're playing. We're always happy to have new people hopping aboard. That's it from me for this week. Take care of yourselves and each other, and bye-bye for now.